the Oregon State Mechanical Board. I'm going to call this meeting of September 1st, 2021 in order at 9:31 a.m. Melissa, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Chair Jay Hansen.
Here.
Vice Chair Eric Fanning.
Here.
Walter Cottle.
Here.
Derek Frazier. Chris Miller.
Here by video.
Jed Sherman.
Good morning, I'm here.
Ted Suk.
Morning, I'm here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Hope everybody's had a moment to review the minutes from the last meeting. Does anybody have any changes, both to either the minutes that we're going to talk about or the agenda today? Okay, seeing none. We will rule the agenda and order of business as approved. Does anybody have any questions or had a chance to rule the draft final minutes from the last meeting? And would there be any questions? And I have none. So those are approved. The date of the next meeting will be December 1st of 2021. And Andy, do you have any public comments for us? Or can you address any public comments or testimony, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andy Bolton, Policy Analyst at the Division. We have not received any requests for general public comment this morning. We're going to hold the line open for just a moment here in case there's anyone that has joined the meeting that would like to provide general public comment to the board. If you are on the line and would like to provide comment, please state your first and last name for the record, as well as your affiliation, if any, at this time.
Okay. Hearing none. Was that something? I heard something? Nothing? Okay. Mark, can you give us Mark Heiser, would you please give us a program update?
Thank you, Chair Hansen and the board. For the record, Mark Heiser with the Division, Mechanical and Energy Engineer. One update is, of course, with the rollout of the new residential code coming to really October 1st being the new code at the end of the grace period for the 2017 code. Wanted to note that this year, as part of the training for the building officials, this is really more a building official note, but the training was, of course, online. Normally, the division is able to go out and do in-person training and do a lot of question and answers, try and discuss the revisions that would be found in the new 2021 residential code. This year, to sort of make up for that, our training group is putting together really a question and answer class for building officials to be able to come in and pre-submit some questions, do an online sort of question and answer session for building officials on what is new for the 2021 Oregon Residential Specialty Code. And some of that, we do expect a few mechanical questions to come out of that. Be looking for announcements on that if you're in the building official world. Also, we also have, of course, a code committee coming forward. There were a few public proposals. We'll be getting into that later in the meeting, but not a lot of, not a big list for the code committee to look at for our 2020, Oregon Mechanical Code. We'll be giving you a bit more of an update later. That's it from the general code and enforcement side. I'm going to turn it over to our Julie Heyer, our senior policy analyst, to go over some other updates for. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Mark. This is Andy Bolton, Policy Analyst of the Division. I'll be filling in for Julia on the legislative update here. I'm just going to present the legislative update. Oregon's regular 2021 legislative session began in January of 2021, and it came to an end on June 26, 2021. There were many bills this session affecting the Building Codes Division. The purpose of this update is to provide a high-level overview of those bills, which we thought would be of most interest to this board. In your packet, you'll find a full copy of the bills we're discussing today. There is a lot of information with these bills, but I will provide a high-level overview along with a quick summary of the division's next steps. There are several other bills that are significant to the division, but not directly relating to the mechanical board. In the interest of time, we're not going to discuss the second group of bills, but they are in your packet if you're interested in reading more about them. All right, without further ado, first up is Senate Bill 866 on program delegation. Senate Bill 866 corrects issues identified by the Oregon Department of Justice relating to program delegation. The bill permits a municipality or the Department of Consumer and Business Services to contract with a person to administer and enforce building inspection programs and to act as a building official. The bill further specifies conditions under which a municipality may procure services from a contract building official. The bill will take effect on January 1st, 2022. The plan for this bill is to be implemented through rulemaking, training, enforcement, and when necessary, assumption of a building inspection program. We conducted a rulemaking advisory committee, ARAC, on August 30th, and are working to draft proposed rules. The division is also working to develop the training program for qualified employees and contract building officials who can now approve commercial building inspections. For the qualified employee, there will be two trainings: a basic training class taken before the exercise of oversight over a contract building official, and an advanced training completed within 180 days after a municipality's designation of the individual as a qualified employee. Next up, House Bill 2415 on electronic processes. Section 1 of the bill requires DCBS to adopt rules to establish minimum standards and statewide consistency in electronic processes for reviewing plans, issuing permits, and performing field inspections. This section of the bill will take effect on September 25th, 2021. That's 91 days after adjournment sine die. For sections 2 and 3, the bill does not become operative until January 1st, 2025. This new law requires municipalities that administer and enforce building inspection programs to use the department's electronic system for access to building codes information, or to use a system that is equivalent to the department's system. It also requires municipalities that administer and enforce building inspection programs to meet minimum standards the department adopts, regardless of whether the municipality uses an equivalent system. For Section 1, as summer construction season winds down, the division will form a rulemaking advisory committee to assist in the development of these rules. The rules are expected to be implemented once sufficient input has been received from the RAC. To prepare for the new laws outlined in Sections 2 and 3, DCBS intends to utilize the RAC discussed above. The RAC can help us explore the terminology in the bill, such as the definition of electronic field inspection, and it can offer other ideas related to rulemaking. In addition, we may pursue a pilot program to iron out details for the system. Meetings will also take place with contractors and building officials to seek additional ideas. We hope to iron out the rules related to this section of the bill in 2023, with the goal of allowing municipalities time to create their own systems by January 1st, 2025. In sum, this bill will result in immediate and long-term rulemaking and further development of electronic processes. Senate Bill 762, this is the wildfire bill. It's a long one. The bill is extensive and is summarized as follows. In your packet, you'll notice that some areas are in bold. These are the areas that more directly relate to BCD. Directs the Public Utility Commission to convene workshops, requires a public utility that provides electricity to have a wildfire protection plan, provides that violation is subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $10,000, requires consumer-owned utilities to have a wildfire mitigation plan, directs the State Board of Forestry to establish criteria for developing and maintaining a statewide map of wildfire risk that displays wildfire risk classes. Those risk classes are further defined in this amendment as extreme, high, moderate, low, and no risk. The map is to be populated to the Oregon Wildfire Risk Explorer, which must be made publicly available in an electronic format. Oregon State University is to be consulted during the establishment of the wildfire risk classes, and the university is to develop and maintain the map. In developing the wildfire risk classes, there's an opportunity for public comment, and wildfire risk class assignments can be appealed. The map must be completed by June 30th, 2022. Declares Wildfire Risk Explorer the official wildfire planning and risk classification mapping tool for the state. Directs the State Board of Forestry to establish a certified burn manager program and report to the Legislative Assembly on or before December 1st, 2021. Directs the State Fire Marshal to establish defensible state space requirements, administer community risk reduction program, and biannually report to the Legislative Assembly, State Wildfire Programs Director, and the Wildfire Programs Advisory Council. Establishes Community Risk Reduction Fund in the State Treasury. Directs the Department of State Conservation and Development to identify certain land use updates and to provide a report on or before October 1st, 2022. Directs DCBS to adopt certain building code standards for extreme and high wildfire risk classes in the wildfire urban interface that are identified in Section 7 of the bill. DCBS must adopt wildfire hazard mitigation building code standards that apply to new dwellings and the accessory, the accessory structures of dwellings, as described in R327 of the 2021 Oregon Residential Specialty Code. These actions must take place by October 1st of 2022. The standards cannot become operative before April 1st of 2023. And the standards must be incorporated into any updates to the ORSC. DCBS must amend Section R327 of the Oregon Residential Specialty Code to include standards for addition to existing dwellings and accessory structures and for the replacement of existing exterior elements covered in the current R327. These actions must take place by October 1st, 2022. The standards cannot become operative before April 1st, 2023. And the standards must be incorporated into any updates to the ORSC. Not more than 2 years after the standards stated in the 2 bullet points above, DCBS must update Section R327 of the ORSC to accomplish certain requirements in the bill. DCBS must develop and maintain an interactive mapping tool that displays at the property level wildfire hazard mitigation standards covered in Section R327 of the ORSC. The tool must be designed to support future inclusion of snow load, seismic, and wind building code standards at the property level. The tool must be developed not more than 60 days after the statewide map of wildfire risk described above is developed. Must collaborate with OSU to obtain any needed info from the Wildfire Risk Explorer and national or science-based sources in order to develop the tool. Ensure that the tool is displayed in an electronic format and is available to the public at no charge, and periodically update the tool when the relevant building code is updated. DCBS may enter into an agreement with OSU concerning services required to be developed and maintained in the tool. The bill directs the Department of Environmental Quality to undertake programs concerning impacts of wildfire smoke, readiness, and mitigation capacity for smoke and ambient air quality. It directs the Department of Human Services to establish a grant program related to clean air shelters and smoke filtration systems and report to the Legislative Assembly, the State Wildfire Programs Director, and the Wildfire Programs Advisory Committee Council no later than June 30th, 2023. Directs the Office of Emergency Management to update the statewide emergency plan to prepare for or respond to wildfire emergencies. Directs the State Forestry Department to implement a program to reduce wildfire risk. Report to the Legislative Assembly, Governor, State Wildfire Programs Director, and Wildfire Programs Advisory Council no later than January 15th, 2022 and July 15th, 2023. Establish a small forest land grant program, adopt certain rules concerning prescribed fires, establish a system of smoke detection cameras, and assess and improve wildfire response capacity. Establishes the Oregon Conservation Corps Program and Oregon Conservation Corps Advisory Committee. Establishes the Oregon Conservation Corps Fund in the State Treasury. makes certain changes concerning the wildland urban interface, directs the governor to appoint the state wildfire programs director, establishes the Wildfire Programs Advisory Council, requires the council to annually report to the governor and the legislative assembly. DCBS must provide 15% of the time of a full-time equivalent employee to cooperatively staff the council, attend council meetings as informational resources, assist with drafting reports at the request of the council, and to support the work of the state wildfire programs director. For certain entities, for specified purposes, appropriates monies from the general fund, increases appropriations from the general fund, and increases limitations on expenditures. The bill declares an emergency and is effective on passage. The rulemaking and code work will likely be in full swing for the bill in summer of 2022. Updated codes will likely take effect October 1st, 2022, with a 6-month phase-in period to October 1st, 2023. Then within 2 years, by October 1st, 2024, we will update section R327 in accordance with the requirements of the bill. We'll also develop and maintain an interactive mapping tool, and we'll collaborate with Oregon State University. Further, we will be available to participate in the Wildfire Programs Advisory Council. Next up is House Bill 3227 on refrigerants. It prohibits the Department of Consumer and Business Services from outlawing in the state building code certain uses of specified refrigerants authorized under federal law. The board has already approved a statewide alternate method which addresses this bill. House Bill 2560 on remote meetings and testimony. This bill requires a governing body of a public body, to the extent reasonably possible, to make all meetings accessible remotely to members of the general public through technological means, and to provide an opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony when that type of testimony is allowed in person. The bill imposes the same requirements on hearings under ORS chapters 197 and 215. It takes effect on January 1st, 2022. For Building Codes Division, this means we will continue to keep our meetings accessible remotely to the general public, and will allow remote oral and written testimony in all situations where that type of testimony is allowed in person. For House Bill 2992, compensation to board members, this bill modifies the amount of compensation paid to members of state boards and commissions. It also requires state boards or commissions to pay compensation and expenses to certain members with an adjusted gross income below a certain threshold. The bill provides that members may decline to accept compensation or reimbursement. The bill will also take effect, the bill will take effect on the 91st day following adjournment sine die, which is September 25th, 2021. The division will communicate to our board members about this new law and send a letter to each board member with additional details. That completes the legislative update.
Excellent. Thank you very much. No communications. We have no appeals. And we have no unfinished business. So we're on to new business. And the board is going to review and the selection of a code committee review committee for the 2022 Oregon Mechanical Specialty Code. And Andy is going to talk about this and introduce it. Then Mark is going to give us some details.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andy Bolton, Policy Analyst of the Division. At the board's June 2nd, 2021 meeting, the board directed the division to solicit individuals who were interested in participating in a code review committee for the 2022 Mechanical Specialty Code. The division received 4 applications from interested persons with a variety of backgrounds and experience. The division recommends including all 4 of the code on the code committee, and that will require a motion from the board. We also have Mark Heiser here available to help out with questions about the code committee, and I believe he may have news on one additional member that could be added to the code committee list in your board packet.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you, Chair Hansen. Again, Mark Heiser with the division. Wanted to first go over the list of the 4 applicants that we have. And those are Jeff Thompson, who is a building inspector from Washington County, Kevin Duell with Northwest Natural Gas as an engineering consultant, Jeff Kennedy, the City of Independence's building official, and Scott Leverins from Jacobs Heating and Air Conditioning. So we have currently, 2 from the building official world, 1 from really the utility perspective and a contractor as well. We did have a person express interest after the deadline. It is Troy Lowell. He is a PE and an associate principal with one of the larger engineering firms in the Portland area. Since we currently have 4 members, it would be nice to have a 5th member potentially to be able to also be on there and provide perspective for some of the more complex building types. Things like things that don't come up normally, like hospitals, industrial applications, the like. And from the actual sort of the design field perspective, yes, having come from that, a little bias on that, but having that additional perspective and a 5th member is open to the committee. You could, per the motions, modify that to have the motion to modify the recommendations that's on your list to either add or actually accept or decline persons from the list. Or at worst case, I believe that engineer is willing to participate even in a non-voting membership if need be, but would really like to be participating in the code change. So that's it for the list of members and the 1 potential additional member. Thank you, Chair Hansen.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Is it appropriate to ask a little more background on Mr. Lowell other than he's with one of the larger mechanical firms or mechanical design firms in Portland?
Okay. I'm trying to get some more of his information. Yes, he's an associate principal there, it's with Interface Engineering, a larger firm that I'm well familiar with. They do a wide range of work. I know that they and PAE engineers and GluMac and a few others are sort of the ones who do sort of the larger projects in the state. In other words, more familiar. They do international work. They do lots of local schools, very active in the, the sustainable community and the like. So has been with the firm here in Oregon, I think, well over 15 years now. So,
okay. Would anybody have a motion to put forward at this point? We do need a motion on this.
Chair Hansen, Eric Fanning.
Go ahead, Eric. Start with Eric.
I would move to add the 5th person to the committee.
I second that motion. Walt?
Do we have to vote on adding, or if we just have, is that what we need to do? Let's see, Melissa?
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, this is Andy. Yeah, you can go ahead and do a motion to add them to the list, or you can just go ahead and do one motion and vote to modify, to amend and approve the list that's been recommended to include Mr. Lowell.
Eric, you want to change that?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah, I would move to add the 5th person to the committee and accept. Andy said it a lot better than I did.
Accept the nominations?
Yes. Thank you, Chair.
Chris, did you have anything else? No?
No, sir. I was going to make a very similar motion. Thank you, Chair.
Sir. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Chris. We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have to re-second that?
Second.
All those in favor of adding the 5th member as presented?
Roll
You
call.
want to say something, Mark?
We'll be doing a roll call vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I learned that one the hard way.
Yes, we'll take a roll call. Walter Cottle,
Yay.
Derek Frazier,
Yay.
thank you. Chris Miller,
Aye.
Jed Sherman,
Aye.
Ted Suk,
Yes.
Vice Chair Eric Fanning,
Aye.
Chair Jay Hansen.
Oh, it's unanimous. Aye.
Yes, motion passes.
Thanks, Mark. And Andy for all the reading.
That was a lot of reading, Andy.
It was.
Okay, we'll move on to more new business. Board consultation and approval of the proposed permanent rule extending the phased mechanical minor labels inspection programs. Andy, can you introduce this to us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andy Bolton, Policy Analyst at the Division. The Division previously established by temporary rule a program to pilot mechanical minor label, a pilot program for mechanical minor labels in certain jurisdictions in the state. Included in your board packet is proposed language for a permanent rule to continue the phased mechanical minor label inspection program. The temporary rule that is currently in effect will expire on October 23rd, 2021. The division held a rulemaking advisory committee on August 3rd, and there is a rulemaking hearing scheduled for September 21st. This permanent rule will allow the division to continue to study the mechanical minor label program and continue to roll it out over the course of coming months. This will require a motion. If the board approves the proposed rule, then the motion should include the finding that the added cost, if any, is necessary to the health and safety of the occupants or the public, or necessary to conserve scarce resources.
Mark? We have Mark to answer any questions for us on this. Discuss it maybe a little further.
I would just, Eric Fanning, I have a question through the chair. How's this been going, Mark? How's this been going?
Well, through the chair, Mark Heiser with the division. Fortunately, we also have on board is Warren Jackson from the division in statewide services, who can actually give even more feedback of how that is going. If you don't mind, Chair Hansen, to allow Mr. Jackson to give feedback. It's been, well,
Please, Warren.
thank you.
There we go.
Okay, a little bit of a delay there. All right, for the record, Warren Jackson with the division. Just happened to be listening in, but I can tell you that since January 1st, I think we've sold about 43 sets of 10 minor labels. I think there's a few contractors that have really embraced them. There's another group of contractors that maybe aren't taking advantage of the program yet. The new rules will provide a little more flexibility for the contractor, provides provisions for submitting photos, and also for those situations where either the contractor chooses not to submit photos or the photos aren't good enough, that a site visit can be arranged by the jurisdiction who's going to do the inspection for the randomly selected 1 out of 10 labels. So it'll provide a little more flexibility. I think that'll help encourage more folks to try out the program.
Thank you, Warren. Hey, does anybody from staff have any feedback on how the minor label program is functioning on the plumbing side? Warren, would you have some feedback on that?
I'm trying to remember the numbers, but the plumbing and electrical minor label programs are very robust, and we do sell a lot of labels. I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of, boy, I hate to throw out a number, but I'm thinking, 6,000 to 7,000 labels a month between electrical and plumbing. Electrical outpaces plumbing.
Right. And so we started this program well before you were even born, Warren. I mean, so it's taken some time. The point I'm trying to, it's taken some time for it to gain some traction. And at the moment, we're really early into the game for the mechanical minor label. It takes, contractors have to get used to things. And I can remember a story one of my senior plumbers told me before he passed away, many years before he passed away. He said, boy, in the late 60s, early 70s, when they came out with plastic drainage pipe, that PVC and ABS stuff, that was, we weren't going to use that for nothing. So we're historically slow to adopt. And I might just offer that sentiment as it's applied to this also. We only have, again, how many counties or cities do we have on board with the mechanical minor label?
I don't know the exact number, but from memory, Lynn County, Marion County, Umatilla County, Coos County, as well as the cities of Albany. Let's see, we had Jackson County, Central Point. So just a handful. And again, we're certainly not giving up on the program. So this is to provide a little more flexibility for the contractors and to give us an opportunity to do more outreach. So I think in this next set of rules, our goal is to work with local building officials to give them the materials to allow them to do some outreach activities in their jurisdictions.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions or a motion?
I would move to adopt. This is Eric Fanning.
We have a
Chair
second.
Hansen, I would like to amend Eric's motion and make the motion to approve the phased mechanical minor label program, even with the added costs, as we find it necessary for the life and safety of the occupants and the public.
Excellent. Okay. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second.
Second. We've got some seconds. Do we have any further discussion, or good to move on to a roll call for vote? Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Walter Cottle,
Yay.
Derek Frazier,
Yes.
Chris Miller,
Aye.
Jed Sherman,
Aye.
Ted Zook,
Yes.
Vice Chair Eric Fanning,
Aye.
Chair Jay Hansen.
And we've got an excellent mechanical board because it is also unanimous. Thank you very much. Yay. And we do not have any particular announcements posted. Does anybody here at the meeting have some announcement? Nothing? Nothing? Nothing at all? Okay, we'll move to adjournment. We'll see you all again, if I remember correctly, December 1st. And it is December 1st. And I, Chair Hansen, call the Oregon State Mechanical Board to adjournment at 10:03 a.m. on September 1st. Thank you all.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, Shane.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.